Be sure and keep that volume up.
Get the slate going.
All right, a landmark, monumental edition of the Trigger Warning Fun Time Show. This is the 15th episode.
Yeah!
I'm Scratch Masterson.
Superfan Ozzy.
I'm Jack.
I'm Babyface Nelson.
And I'm Burrito Supreme.
And let's revisit some shows from our past. I was hanging out with Superfan Ozzy last night, and we were talking about Anthony Michael Hall for some reason. I remembered the show The Dead Zone. Did you watch The Dead Zone ever?
Oh, on the USA Network?
Yeah. And that was
So that's a yes, then, obviously.
It was on after Monday Night Raw. How could I miss it? Whatever's on after wrestling, I usually catch like the last 10 minutes of.
For a USA original, that was a really good show and good spin-off of the movie. It had Charles Winchester from MASH was on it, playing the preacher. Remember that?
I think, yeah.
Did you ever watch the show?
I watched it, yeah. Like, I remember it going on longer than it should have.
Yeah, I agree. I think that should have been like a mini series that they were like, let's just keep going. Episode 4, episode 10,
Because the
episode
movie
22.
definitely has an ending. There's a culmination, and the show felt like they were always teasing towards that. If you've seen the movie, you know what's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pointless.
You know, how do you advertise the Dead Zone? Like, from the network that brought you Weird Science, the television series, Campus Cops, the television series, and plays Mansquito every night at 2 a.m.
Well, they've come a long way.
They
But
have.
It's sad to watch, to think of it now, because Anthony Michael Hall's become such an asshole.
Has he?
Yeah, haven't you heard about him getting into fights with his neighbor and stuff?
No, I guess not.
Oh, yeah.
People don't like to live next to him.
I guess I haven't really been keeping up on the goings-on of Anthony Michael Hall.
Well, you're missing out.
Apparently.
Whatever happened to the other kid from Weird Science? Oh, hey, I just put that together. He was on the network that brought you Weird Science, the television show.
Right.
They might as well just call it the Anthony Michael Hall Network. Yeah. New series called Farmer Ted. Anyone? Yeah.
And then the other one I was thinking of is, do you remember that there's a Sci-Fi Channel original that was called Black Scorpion? Did you ever watch that one? It was like a female superhero.
Wasn't that Joan Severance?
That's
that
the one.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if she was on the TV series because they did 2 movies and then they made a TV series out of it. But they would always have the super criminals be special guests. So I remember Dave Mustaine from Megadeth was like a lava bad guy one
How
time.
awful was that?
Oh, it was great.
Oh.
I mean, it was,
Yeah, right.
it was awful, but great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bad it's good.
I recently got on a YouTube wormhole that led me down all these old shows I used to watch, and some of them look like they've really held up and were maybe ahead of their time, and some of them were not so much ahead of their time. For instance, do you guys remember the children's television show Sharon Lois and Bram's The Elephant Show?
Yes.
Okay, it was 2 middle-aged women and a middle-aged gay man, and they were the hosts of this show, and it was aimed at children, and then they had a man in an elephant costume who would get into the craziest hijinks.
Go ahead and sing it.
And then skin-a-marinky-dinky-dink, skin-a-marinky-doo, I love you.
We know it.
Yeah. So I was watching a couple clips from that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. I can't believe as a kid I loved to watch this. Now, on the flip side, there's a show called Zoobilee Zoo that Ben Vereen was on. I believe this was on PBS, but it was about a zoo where humans are dressed up like as the animals, right? And so they're like hanging around, and
Sounds like a horrible nightclub.
I was going to say, I think I remember this from like a fever dream.
right. Well, the thing is there's a girl who played like a pink kangaroo named What's-It.
Oh, no.
And I had the biggest crush on her. And going back and watching it, I'm like, oh man, no wonder I have such weird sexual stuff. I've been thinking about a pink kangaroo woman for the last 30 years.
There's one on Nickelodeon about this gal that had this store, and when she'd close it down at night, she'd put a hat on the one mannequin and he'd come to life.
That's called Today's Special.
Today's Special, and then a little talking mouse.
A little talking
Mixie
mouse. And the security guard was a puppet.
Yeah, did the little mouse make you horny too? Or
Yeah. I also had a crush on the mouse at Showbiz.
what a weirdo.
Like Chuck E. Cheese?
No, the mouse, the
at
cheerleader
Showbiz.
mouse.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, ooh, she had a lot going on.
Get a piece of her
Sure.
cheese.
I love to constantly watch like 90s cartoons again. I went all the way through the X-Men animated series again, which totally holds up. Still fabulous. And now I'm on Spider-Man, and also fabulous, but so punny.
Let me quickly
So
derail
funny.
this. You just itched your armpit for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm really
What is
bad
going on?
Well, I shaved my armpits yesterday for the first time in probably like 2 weeks, and so now they're itchy.
I mean, a lot. It seems like you did a lot of work there.
And it helps her remember. She's
Yeah.
Yeah,
remember the 90s.
Like,
remember the 90s.
because I used to sit with both my hands itching my armpits while I watched cartoons all
Now-
morning and ate Cheetos.
Now, I'm going to throw this out. I think the 90s were both a boom and a downward spiral for cartoons, because there are some out there that are amazing, like Rocko's Modern Life. It's too bad that that's not on like Adult Swim. It would be another good example.
Cow and Chicken.
Cow and Chicken.
Yep.
Eek the Cat, I even thought was really good.
Hey
Cat Dog.
Arnold.
Cat Dog.
Hey Arnold was great. Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, these are shows
like
now that would be like geared towards a more adult audience.
And they were back then. You just didn't get it all the way.
You're just like, I want to watch this. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
But then there were also some real bad ones too. Anytime Disney was like, "Hey, let's just turn one of our
Movies into a
a cartoon," but that's not always the case, because like I loved Goof Troop. I thought that show was awesome. You ever watch? You seem like a guy who watched Goof Troop.
No.
No,
Actually, I wasn't. No.
Little Jack Spade wasn't like, "Give me a beat, Goof Troop, and we're always friends forever."
Transformers child.
I would. No, I'll tear up some Darkwing Duck. You give
Ooh,
me
yeah.
some DuckTales, which is coming back with David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck.
Did that blow your mind?
I'm so excited. It's
not the only
and I'll
thing it
also
blew.
probably, for the first time in my life, be attracted to Scrooge McDuck. That David Tennant
I think
voice.
between your now Scrooge McDuck infatuation and JJ's, we got a whole new podcast.
Disney sexual desires.
Cartoon animal fixations. Right?
Britta and I had a conversation recently. So, if you take the timeline of the movie Beauty and the Beast, right? So, the Beast is a small boy, like a small prince, when the woman comes to the door to give him the rose, and he's like, "No, get out of here. You're old, gross, and homeless." So he gets turned into a beast for 10 years. So somehow this kingdom magically forgets that they had a ruling body, and like all the people, like all the servants, like what about all their family? Like, you know, did this woman also write letters being like, "Oh, and your friend Martha Potts died in a tragic smelting
It's
accident"?
within a decade.
Yeah, so he's still a
it is.
virgin.
For 10 years, we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting. They've only been in their curse for 10 years, and the whole world has forgotten this huge, giant castle up on a hill used to have a bunch of people inside of it.
Right. And not only that, but the beast is a virgin. Unless he was having like coitus very, very young. So
Or as a beast with like the armoire.
right, we talked about that. Like maybe he was getting busy with some of the furniture.
I could see that.
And
You know.
also, where did the Chip character come from? Because that little boy is like younger than 10. So he was born as a cup, right? Like, but how? Who's his
right.
dad?
Who is his
There's
dad?
only
And if-
one other cup.
And if Mrs.
Yeah.
Potts is his mom, she's like way
Super
too
old.
old to have a child.
What do anthropomorphic objects, do they have to have parents and stuff? I mean, I thought that Disney cups and teapots and stuff.
Yeah, but these were all supposed to be people in the castle that were turned into the
Yeah, it's not like the pot was turned alive. A woman was
turned into
the
a pot, and then at the end of the movie they all get turned back. So this kid is younger than 10. He would what was she like pregnant, and then the teacup had a cup.
Where does a teapot give birth from?
The nose,
spout?
yeah.
I reject your premise.
These are important questions.
They
because
also cursed like a 10-year-old boy into this because he wouldn't let a creepy old woman into his house.
yeah, what
And
are we trying
where
to
were
teach
his
children?
parents? Where are the king and queen? He's still
He
called
was
the prince.
just following the rules. He did the right thing. He
I know.
let her in, and he gets
Right?
punished for it.
Exactly.
That's the MO of all those Disney movies, though. Is kill off the parents somehow, get rid of the
But
parents.
in
and
this
then it's
one, it
all about
doesn't
the
say
young.
anything about his parents dying, and he still is a prince, not a king. So that leads me to believe that the king and queen are still alive.
The king probably turned into a toilet. That's why you never saw him, was because you didn't want to see, like, you know, the like, "Come on, son, you gotta fall in love." So I don't remain a toilet for the rest of my life, and your mother can stop being a dryer.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Rest your cheeks upon my face.
But it's one of those old-timey toilets where you have to, like, pull the chain.
Sure.
Yeah. Because it's from olden times.
Right. I imagine he'd really like it when you pulled that chain, too.
Yeah. Oh, it's so refreshing. And not only that, but, like, if an anthropomorphic toilet's talking to you and you have to use the bathroom for number 2, does his speech become all garbled? You know, is it like...
Do you think while he's talking, he kind of dry heaving, too?
And just
He's got
sputtering
duty
out
in his
turds?
mouth.
Unless he likes it.
Give me that duty. Speaking of 90s, you're saying how great the 90s were. I dug 30 hard-earned bucks out to buy a VHS copy of The Great Bikini Off-Road Adventure because I so remembered it from the 90s and wanted to have this for a long time. You can't get it on DVD. And I watched it, and it really lives up to it, to the memories that I have of it.
Well, that's lucky since you spent $30 on a VHS.
Yeah, and it's more timely now than ever because in the show, it's this Indian guy who runs a Jeep tour, and they're going to close it down because they want to do this coal mining operation comes. So it was just like watching a story about the Dakota Pipeline, you know. But luckily, his niece and her perky friends offered to do the tours in their bikinis.
So maybe that's what we're missing from the protest is a bunch of buxom bikini
scantily
babes.
clad gals to come in there and save the day.
I mean, I'm all about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Jane Fonda's behind it. Let's get her in a bikini and out there.
Ugh, ish.
Oh, she looks good. She looks good. She does.
Any other remembrances, shows, or anything?
Well, there's one that's actually getting redone again that I'm actually really looking forward to. I didn't like it the last time they did it. Remember Knight Rider 2000?
Yeah.
Like, that was garbage. Like, that sucked. Val...
They did a team of Kit?
Yeah. So it was like a whole team, and Val Kilmer was the voice of Kit this time around. But they're apparently Machinima. Do any of you guys check out Machinima?
No.
It's pretty cool. They do. They actually just recently did a new kind of like 10-minute episode long Transformer series, which was dope. But they're doing Knight Rider again with Justin Lin, the guy that directed the last couple Fast and the Furious movies.
And didn't he just do the last Star Trek movie too?
Yeah. And that's right up his alley. I'm just like, you can't really fuck that up.
No,
Justin
that's
Lin.
a great idea.
Yeah, as long as you keep Vin Diesel out of it, I don't give a shit.
So is it going to be a movie or
No, it's just going to be, kind of like a series. Yeah, like an online
Well, that'll
series.
have some credibility, some clout to it then.
Yeah,
Sounds like some production values.
So I'm kind of looking for that, and I really, really have hopes that takes off so that they remake Airwolf.
Oh.
The Jan Michael Vincent classic.
Which I refuse to watch because nostalgia has bit me in the ass before, and I have fond memories of Airwolf, so I will never watch it again, just in case.
That's what, was that 80s or 90s? That's 80s.
That was 80s.
Yeah, there was definitely a period in the late 80s where everybody loved helicopters because there was Blue Thunder, there was Airwolf, and then Riptide. They had the Screaming Mimi,
yeah.
that pink helicopter. Why was that a thing? Like, helicopters are great.
Because they are.
We've got a mutual friend and a frequent listener of this podcast. We'll call him Dave B. And Dave B, when Nostalgic grabbed hold of him many, many years ago when we worked at Take Two Video North, spent $140 to buy a DVD set of, it was like Doll Man, Demonic Toys versus Doll Man. And it was like 4 DVDs in this set, and it was ultra rare. And so his thing was, we're gonna get them, we're gonna watch all of them, and then we're gonna sell this for like $200. So he goes, okay. So we start watching them. I had never seen them. And halfway through Doll Man, I was like, this is the biggest piece of garbage I have ever seen.
Tim Thomerson? Come on.
Oh, the effects are so poor by today's standards, and I feel like even by 1980 standards, they were pretty bad. It literally was like a Doll Man, and then they would tape him to like the windshield wiper, so you go wee 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 wee, and then cut to him like standing next to an outlet that they just built a really big version of an outlet, so it looked like he was a small man. So while we're watching this thing, my interest is starting to wane. I went on the website for the company that makes this, and you can buy that set for $15. And so I showed Mr. B. I was like, wow, you're a sucker. You paid almost 10 times the value of this thing.
Well,
way to
Girls
go.
Band is notorious for saying that, we're out of stock, or these are the last 10, and then you'll find them on auction sites and stuff, and usually auctioned by them. And then later they'll say, we found a whole crate of this, in the back warehouse. You think, where's that been hiding? Because they'll do that with their action figures and all that stuff.
Well, I was going to say, so the end of this story, we watch all three, I leave, and then I'm like, ugh, I'm done with this. This is such garbage. Well, then I was like, God, I want to watch that movie again. Like, it kind of grew on me, and so now I own a copy of this DVD set, and I watch it at least once a year. And I love it.
That, yeah.
Super fun.
I guess kind of on a similar note, I have Young Guns 1 and 2 on DVD, still in the wrapping, just in case I ever want to watch them again.
Haven't
wanted
a few of
to
those,
yet.
and for the same reason, yeah, you don't want nostalgia. That cloud of nostalgia sits so nice. You don't want to ruin that by watching it and realizing that, oh man, what was I thinking?
I still stand by Young Guns 2, though. Like, that movie was solid gold. More sequels should be like that. Like, nah, fuck a trilogy. We're going to kill everyone. Spoilers.
There are some things that don't age well that should just be left alone, right? Because they were perfect when you were a kid, and nowadays you don't want to. There was a movie I watched that we rented all the time, and I remember slight parts of this thing. And I can't remember if it was like The Land of No or something like that. But there's a little tiny guy. It was a Polish film dubbed over into English. There's a little tiny guy, and he comes from this mystical land and teams up with these two kids. And there's like a werewolf man, but he's nice, kind of like a Chewbacca ripoff. And then they go to the Land of No. And I remember this messed up part where they had a giant slide, and citizens of this land would go down this giant slide into like this thing that would burp them back up, but they'd be butterflies. They'd have butterfly wings when they'd come out. Super trippy, right? Super trippy,
Are you
super
talking about
weird.
a show or a dream?
It's a movie. It's a real live movie. And I watched like a trailer for it recently, and I was like, oh my God, this looks like utter garbage. And there's like a giant, do you remember what Chet looked like when he turned into the shit monster?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a thing that's just like that, but it was like, I am the Land of No. And
Bringing it back to Anthony Michael Hall, I remember when he did this movie called the Norm the Gnome, and it's where he's a detective,
Yeah.
and he's paired up with like this gnome. And I remember when I saw it, and it was a straight-to-video thing at the time, thinking, man, the animatronics on this are great. This gnome is really super realistic looking and cool. And I just watched the trailer for it. It looks so bad now. Your tastes. Well, I guess as technology changes, you realize that stuff just doesn't hold up like it used to.
But then-
look that one up, Norm the Gnome. I think you'll be surprised.
You find something like Labyrinth, and like the technological advances they made in Labyrinth still to this day amaze me. Like the Hoggle puppet, the little Julie guy that hangs out with the main character the whole time and loves bracelets. Like that puppet, it drives me crazy how good it is.
Well, that's why Yoda's still great when you watch Empire Strikes Back. But then
Yeah.
you watch episodes 1, 2, and 3, and the CGI Yoda looks like shit.
I remember going when they were like, we're going to re-release all the Star Wars, but in 3D. And it only made it as far as The Phantom Menace because everyone was like, this movie's garbage. I went to that, and I remember the scene where young Jake Lloyd is standing in front of the Jedi Council. And I'm looking at him like, why does that Yoda look so weird? And I take my glasses off, and I'm like, why does that little Yoda? And I'm like, oh my God. They got rid of the puppet Yoda that was in this scene, and they CG'd in a new Yoda. What's the point?
Awful.
One could argue, what was the point of going to see that piece of shit in 3D?
Because I am a purist, and I would like to see everything that comes out no matter what.
Shit.
So I recently went to the newest Star Wars movie.
There's a new Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that or not. It came out a little while ago. Rouge One, yes. I find myself going to these movies with so much anticipation and excitement, and walk out just pissed off every time.
What?
Yes. I enjoy the movie. It's a good movie, but I go into it as the same little kid that saw Star Wars the first time. expecting that, and you never get that. Walking out, I don't feel I get that.
Get the fuck out of this studio.
For one, yeah.
Episode 8 and Rogue One, you got more of that than
Episode
with,
7.
Huh? Oh,
Episode
episode 7
7.
and Rogue One, you got that than with any of the other ones.
Sure. I loved episode 7. I thought it was great. And I loved Rogue One even more. I thought it was excellent. And I
What
know
was
a lot
it-
of people disagree with that
Yeah.
because everyone does.
I'm not saying I love the movie. It's good, but it's just that.
You don't get that feeling?
Right, you don't get that same. I go into it with more, expecting more, and walking out disappointed.
That's
Do you
because
want
you've
me
already
to
had that
spank you?
feeling.
Right.
You're chasing the dragon now. You'll never get it.
I'll
Yeah.
never get that bump of heroin the first time again.
I will spank you. Will that put you in a more childlike state?
Only if it's a big wooden spoon.
That is totally in the cards.
JJ has a big giant wooden spoon.
For spanking. And also stewing.
And oddly, he's got a big wooden dick.
Yeah.
For spanking,
spanking
and
and
stewing.
And now I feel really bad that I had the stew at your place last night.
Oh,
it's
but it was
kinda-
so good.
Not really.
It's
in hindsight.
tangy.
It was tangy, and now I know why.
What's this cream sauce?
Gross.
So I didn't think that they could do it, but they did. They made like a high-end version of Jell-O. That's
What?
right. You can go to the grocery store and you can buy a packet of Jell-O that's like Jell-O Private Reserves. And it's like a more complex flavoring, and
They use the good horse hooves.
yeah, right. Only champion horse hooves are boiled down. Do you remember California Steamer from last year's Kentucky Derby? Well,
He's
you're going to
in
be
there.
eating him with a slight tangerine taste in mellow yellow orange.
There was
Select
not
reserves?
a horse named California Steamer, was there?
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah, sure.
No.
Yeah.
Google California Steamer right now.
No, I'm scared because
But
I know what
California
a,
Steamer,
I know
but
what a
also include
Cleveland.
more.
Images.
I know what a Cleveland steamer is, and I imagine that the California
What's that?
version of it just like involves lettuce.
It's much healthier, yeah.
I was like that old Mamas and the Papas song, California Steamer. On Winter's Day.
Man, where do you go from there?
We had a game back in the day where on long road trips we would invent new sex moves and give them different names. And a lot of really great ones were invented on these trips. And it turns out a lot of them already existed. When you try and say like, okay, so you drink nothing but coffee for a week, and then you piss all over your partner while you have sex with them. Well, it's already called the Starbucks Frappuccino. Like it's already out.
It's already out there and has a name.
And I came up with one called the Mary Kate that I'm not going to explain because even for this podcast, it's too disturbing. I've only told it publicly once at a stand-up show, and people still come up to me a decade later and tell me, that was really dark, dude. That was really dark. It was really weird. But do you ever find yourself like saying something and then someone's like, "Oh, you didn't even know that was a thing." Like I was telling
You think you're being fresh and original and find out that, that's been around for years.
yeah, exactly. Or that something you've been referencing, you didn't know what it was. Like, for example, I did not know until recently what Netflix and chill meant.
Oh, you didn't know.
I thought it literally meant staying home and watching Netflix.
You're so innocent.
I know,
Right?
but he'd been like asking people, like his cousin, like, "Oh, sure, you're gonna be in town. We'll Netflix and chill."
And then it'd be like, and I'd be like, "Oh, you don't want to just hang
I
out?"
think about
For-
you that way, JJ.
For anyone listening to this podcast, Netflix and chill is like you don't actually watch Netflix. You make out and hanky panky.
Which is stupid because there's so many seasons of Mad Men that people need to get through before they pull it off of Netflix. Why would you waste time with hanky panky?
Some people wouldn't call that wasting time.
Yeah, that's right. How are your children, by the way?
They're wonderful.
Ah, yeah, great. I call it wasting time. Like, right? I mean, it's an obligation. And then
You're
you
not
get-
even married. How is it an obligation?
because I've got so many side girls.
It's got so many activities.
It's
to do.
just takes my attention all the time from everybody and everything I'm doing.
Making out's a wasting time? Is that what you're saying?
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Just give me some virtual reality. Let's do it like they did in Demolition Man.
Hey, did I see a picture of you trying out those like the glasses?
I sure did.
Where were those at?
Those were at the Verizon store.
And they work pretty slick?
No.
Has anybody else here tried those virtual reality goggles yet?
No, but I've watched other people like online. There was like a setup in a mall, and it was like you were walking across like a tightrope or something like that, or climbing a mountain, and then and it must have been realistic enough because somebody would come in and push them, and then of course it looks like you're falling in the virtual headset, and they would just, I mean, full on panic, full freak out of like, no. Like, so it must have looked realistic enough in those that you felt like you were actually going to die.
I feel like the thing that we're missing with virtual reality is to put you in like a bubble where like you've got like a sphere below you that so when you walk.
They do have those. So it's like a treadmill type thing though, but a circular one so you can walk in any direction and you're also harnessed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that like
you can't hurt yourself.
Right. And you can, because I want the feel of actually like being able to fall. And then I was thinking like, if I'm playing a game like that where I'm shooting someone, like I'm a cop, like in the 1920s, I'm a dirty cop, you know, and I'm trying to roust out
What
some.
game are you playing?
It's dirty. It's called Britta's Nightmare. But so I want like the thing to like, if I get shot, I want it something to poke me in the side. I want there to be a physical feeling to this virtual reality as well.
Just wait till the porn developers get a chance
it's
to.
like, and you
I
ask
know.
for too much and then you regret it later.
No, that's the world I want to
Then
live
it's the
in.
Matrix. You want to live in the Matrix?
What's the Matrix?
Huh?
What's the Matrix?
It's a movie with Keanu Reeves
What? I've never seen it. You mean Keanu Reeves, like the guy from Speed?
from Bill and Ted. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy from The Bus. That movie, The Bus.
The voice of the cat in Keanu?
Was he the voice of the cat?
Sure
Yeah,
was.
remember? In their
Really?
fever dream?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't think they were going to get him, and then he like heard about it, and he was like, "Oh no, I'll totally do it."
Speaking of dreams, last night Scratch shared his latest dream or a dream he recently had. I'm just wondering if you want to share that with everyone.
Oh, it was no. I was just driving around Fargo naked. It seemed so real. I remember coming over the bridge from Moorhead into Fargo, and I had all my clothes in my seat, and I was thinking, "Fuck, I don't want to get pulled over and have a cop think I'm some kind of pervert." So I was trying to figure out how I could get dressed while I was driving. You know,
Didn't you actually do that in '97 though?
let's. I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Right.
No, but and it seemed very real, and I had a huge boner too. So I don't know. Maybe if I had gotten pulled over, I probably was a pervert.
Now you are dreaming.
Yeah.
I went to a theater arts summer camp for many years where one of the things we did there was called naked driving. And you would pack your car with a bunch of other teenage kids, and then someone else would do the same. And every time you'd pull up to each other at like a stoplight, you'd have to remove an article of clothing. And it's to see who could get like the furthest. It was awesome.
Theater arts camp.
Yeah. Theater arts camp was like
Theater is dirty,
amazing.
filthy, dirty.
Yeah, there's massage circles
Horny
that take place before
teenagers.
every show. Ugh. I tell
A
you.
lot of pent up sexual energy.
Yeah. You think like, oh, well, it's the sports guys who are really like getting laid all the time. Really, all you're doing is standing in a room full of dongs together. Like, I'm getting out there and I'm like, we're going to kiss in this scene.
Practice.
Yeah, that's why I think sexual activities are a waste of time now. I've done everything. I'm over it.
Have you done the Arabian goggles yet?
What's that? Is that something from The Matrix?
Sure. Then you
What
haven't.
is-
You haven't
what's
done
the
everything
Arabian
yet.
goggles?
So the Arabian goggles are where the girl's laying down and you just kind of like straddle her head and put one ball over each eye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you've done that?
Yeah, we used to call that the Music Man.
Right, you are.
Because it's like a trumpet. It's like playing a trumpet.
Not like the rusty trombone.
No, that is. You can only do that really once and get away with it. How about you, Burrito?
What about me?
Do your armpits still itch?
It does, actually, both of them. Speaking of dreams, though, what I was going to bring up is the other day, JJ and I had or Babyface and I had a odd run-in with our HR person at our real work, and she couldn't look us in the eyes all day on Friday because she had a dream that involved both both Babyface and I and herself, and she wouldn't tell us what it was because she said that'll make it worse. But I can't look at you today or talk to you.
Oh boy.
And like she put up a piece of paper in front of her face,
She didn't
and she
have to
couldn't look me in the eye.
Wow.
She's like, I
You're
have
pretty disturbed by this dream.
I have very real, vivid dreams, and I just can't look at you or talk to you today.
And I desperately want to know what happened.
I
in this
know,
dream.
but she wouldn't tell us because she said that would make it more awkward. Do you ever like have dreams about like coworkers or people you see every day, and then it does make it like awkward? No one's gonna say yes or no on that because we all work together.
Because I don't really care. I'll just like I'll poke my head into your guys' office and be like, JJ, you were great last night. Thanks.
You're giving me a blumpkin.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Total blumpkin.
What? You've never had a blumpkin?
I think that's pretty common though, right? Like
A blumpkin? No, it's not.
they're not.
Like if you find a girl that's cool with that, you hold on.
Yeah, that's for birthdays and
Or
special
a-
occasions.
with
Or
everyone what that
immediately
is.
go to the doctor and get checked because she's filthy.
Filthy rotten.
The girl who doesn't put up a fight for a blumpkin, that's either the girl that you marry right then and there, be like, get a priest.
Or the one that
Or the
gives
one that
you
you're like,
syphilis.
this has been great.
Do you not know what a blumpkin is, Ozzy?
Nope.
It's a oral sex while the man is sitting on the toilet taking a number deuce.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
Oh,
Which I believe is called a fat Elvis if he's actually eating a peanut butter and fried peanut butter and banana sandwich at the time. Is that what it's called?
That is correct.
Fat Elvis.
Fat Elvis?
Yeah.
JD's like, well, I will up my game.
Why did everyone just look at me?
It's the way you said, yeah, it is. Like
'Cause you
yesterday,
like fried banana and
I do.
sandwiches.
so much.
Accurate.
Is there anything funnier than kids swearing?
Like little children?
Yeah, like seeing like a little
swearing
kid say, like,
incorrectly.
shit. I love that.
I would think funnier to me are grown adults like talking shit to little kids.
Oh,
Like while they're playing video games.
Yeah,
That's my favorite.
While they're playing video games, they're just like out in public, and some kid is being a shithead, and
and an adult calls them out on it.
yeah. Like, for example, I would, back in 2007 when the first Transformers movie came out, I had my little godson, and he was like 6 at the time, and he got into the movies and got into collecting toys and stuff, and we'd go to Toys R Us every week and look for new Transformers, and one day we go, and he was just like, oh, there's the new Bumblebee, there's the new Jazz figure, and he's pointing them all out, and this other kid is just screaming his mouth off, I want a toy, I want a toy, and his mom's like, you're not getting a toy, and so like very loudly and audibly, I'm like, you know what, Colton, you're getting 2 because you're not an asshole. And he just picks 2 toys and he walks, and I swear to God, as we're walking past, like he just turns back and looks at the kid and just like shows the toys. And I'm just like, right on.
Right. You probably taught that bratty kid a lesson. If only he'd behaved himself, he maybe
Or
would've gotten
he's
something.
like still a douchebag and
Living
like,
in his parents' basement.
yeah, recently arrested for selling narcotics.
Obviously, you guys are not familiar with the song Pussy Control because it started very similarly, and that person ended up becoming the CEO of a company and employing all the people that he felt were. So maybe Colton is destined to work for this young man, and he'll be like, I've got all the toys,
Maybe.
right?
I was going to say, when you were talking about adults calling out kids, my son plays a lot of video games, and when he was younger and lived at home, and he'd have his headset on, and I'd go in and watch him every once in a while while I was playing, and he'd be interacting and talking with people online, and there was always some douchebag adult riding his ass about being a kid playing the game. Never mind that my son's kicking his ass in the game, so then they'd call him out even more. And all I hear my son say back to him, so I can't hear the other person talking, is my son goes, oh yeah, well, the joke's on you, I have 2 dads. So when they're all done, I'm asking him, well, what the hell was that about? He goes, well, the guy kept making fun of me and, saying shit about my mom. So he said, well, I just figured I'd shut him up and say, well, joke's on you, I got 2 dads. And he immediately shut off and logged off.
Because it became a hate crime.
The hands down funniest ever adult shit talking a kid, and you can Google this right now, and if you've never seen it, watch it. You'll laugh your ass off. It was Don Rickles calling out Emmanuel Lewis, the kid that played Webster, at Ronald Reagan's inauguration. Webster is like hosting the thing, and Don Rickles comes up, and Webster's like, he has a mic, he's like, be funny, and he hands the mic off to Don Rickles, and Don Rickles, without missing a beat, he's like, oh, so cute, but very sad, the only black kid that'll never grow up and play basketball.
You know, there are some beautiful, amazing pieces of like yesteryear that as soon as someone dies, it dies with them. Don Rickles is one of those people who can 100% get away with what would be considered now as amazingly racist jokes. But he is so funny. And like, there's a great documentary called Mr. Warmth, the Don Rickles project, where they interview like one of his best friends is Clint Eastwood. Yep. And so they interview Clint Eastwood, and they tell a great story about how Rickles really got his start, which was his mother knew Frank Sinatra's mother, and so they went and they had lunch together, and she was like, could you ask Frank to help, you know, Donnie out a little bit? Like, he just needs a little bit of help. And she goes, Mavis, it's done. And he goes, and 1 week later, I was opening at the Copacabana Club, and I think that, like, no one does anything like that anymore.
Funny that Rickles is the only guy that could actually, you know, let Frank Sinatra have it and wouldn't get in trouble for it. You know, he could rib all those guys and get away with it. You watch his stand-up act, and he's like, "What's your name up here, Rabinowitz?" Yeah, look, all the Jews and the Chinamen up in the front row. You know, you can't say that anymore. Right? You know, well, these guys in the back are upset because the Jews are all up in the front. It's like, what comedian gets away with that?
Right?
No,
I'm not gonna lie to you. The last 6 months of 2016, like every celeb that dropped off, I'm like, "Don't be Rickles, don't be Rickles, don't be Rickles."
We need a little bit more of that. I watched that documentary Bright Lights last night about Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds that was in production. It's really good. Like, and she's even a part of old Hollywood, like Debbie Reynolds, that you're never gonna get back. Even the way that, like, she just, like, everything's got like a little quip with it, right? You know, little like side jokes where she's like, I love my daughter, but only on Tuesdays. You know, it's all very Phyllis Diller-esque. And it's sad for me to see people from that bygone era go, because they are fucking talented as hell.
Well, that's what
that
we're trying
vaudeville.
to recapture a little bit with this classic podcast that we do, because years from now, people are going to go back and remember that one where they're talking about the Blumpkin.
Those guys, they don't make them like that anymore.
Those guys had a certain class, a certain
je ne sais quoi.
Yes, a certain verve.
Should that become our new like tagline? A certain je ne sais quoi.
Right up your asshole.
Would you rather?
The Trigger Warning Fun Time Podcast. They talk about fucking.
Should we wrap it up here?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. That's number 15. I'm Scratch Masterson.
Superfan Ozzy.
Jack Spade.
Babyface Nelson.
And Burrito Supreme.
See you in 2 and 2.